Hey everybody, how you doing? This is Jim Grisanzio from the Java Developer Relations team, and we are done. JavaOne Las Vegas is over. Mostly at this point, we're really at the end of the day on day 3, and I'm here with Kaya Weers from the Netherlands. Kaya, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
It's very nice to meet you. I've been following you on Twitter for a while. I think I've seen you at a couple of conferences previously. We never actually met until now. So I wanted to have a conversation with you, talk about the community, talk about JavaOne, just how your conference has gone here these last few days. So tell me about some conversations that you've been having. How has it been for you?
Yeah, so it's my first time at JavaOne, and also as a speaker. So I'm really happy to be here, and it's so cool that I have that in a lot of conferences. The community is so open that every time you walk in, you have 10 seconds of standing alone before someone is approaching you and has a question or wants to say something or wants to do anything. And I really like that about the whole vibe.
That's interesting because you said this is your first JavaOne. I've been to many JavaOnes, but I'm a lot older than you. And a lot of people who I talk to have been to like many JavaOnes, so they have this long history, But many times, a lot of us don't realize that for a lot of people here, this is their first or second or whatever, So that's really cool. So what was your session about?
So my session is about remote pair programming. So I started diving into a couple tools during COVID. So then it was really relevant because people were working from home and they were doing pair programming via screen sharing, but I don't think that's really a good way to do it. And there are a lot of tools developed that you can use inside of your IDE. So my talk is about comparing a couple of those tools and see which fits the best.
So during COVID, they were doing it via like Zoom or whatever, but, obviously being physically separated. Yeah. So now you can do it, together, basically, so like in the same space.
Yeah, but so the purpose of those tools is when you're not in the same space. Okay. Because I don't know how it's for like the people but in the Netherlands also we see that a lot of people are still working from home or doing hybrid. So for myself, I work at the office for only once a week at most. So all the other days we're still in different cities and working from home. So to prevent that, you lack a lot of conversations when you're at home. Normally you just turn your chair and you hear what people are discussing. And you lack that kind of information. And I think that pair programming is really a good way to still have all those technical discussions and other things. And people tend to use screen sharing because it's easy. You already have your video calling tool. But often it results in one person just explaining what they're doing and the other one listening and not really collaborating together. So then they developed plugins for your IDEs that you could really work inside your IDE together. And you're both making changes and you'll see that directly from each other. So I think that even if COVID is going away, hopefully, people are still working from home. Like most of the people I know, the most developers don't want to go back to 5 days in the office. They like it at home or they like the combination. And for me too, I like the combination. And then I think it's really good to invest in some tools that you can use from home to keep having that collaboration in code instead of like ignoring your outside world when you work from home.
That's an interesting concept. When I started, I've been in this business for 22 or so years. And one of the things I noticed about working with developers, essentially observing that, how they work. I'm really interested in how they work and how they solve problems. And it's this whole concept of collaboration. Because in other fields, you don't necessarily collaborate as much, And I'm just wondering, is this something that you learned like at school, or is it just something you learn when you join the community?
Yeah, so it's funny because I don't have an IT background. So I studied communication and multimedia design, which is a really creative studies. And you can work in like advertising, for example, as a designer or UX design. And so in my studies, I learned a lot about collaboration because the studies was divided in projects and projects and projects together, building creating new concepts. So for me, I was really used to collaborating. And when I switched to IT, I still had that cliche image of people working on their own with their headphones and just coding. So I was expecting to be working on my own. And also I was happy to have some more time to work on my own instead of only collaborating. And then I was surprised that there was so much collaboration in programming, that you work so much together and have so much discussions about how to solve things in a good way. But I think for me it was also a positive surprise that you have so much collaboration. So for me it was natural from college, but I think otherwise you will learn it when you start working. Like pair programming, you have to learn how to do that, how it works for you and how it works for your colleagues, and how to.
So you said you have to learn pair programming. Learn your pair programming? What are some of the concepts?
Yeah, so I think what's really important that you have to. Also, you can think about why do we want to do it? Because there are different ways or reasons why you want to do it. Maybe you want to do it purely for knowledge sharing, or you have a problem that you want to figure out together. Or so there are multiple reasons, and it also then depends what you want to get out of it. So when I started IT, I had zero knowledge. I had to learn everything. And then I had a coworker where I did a lot of pair programming together with the main reason to learn me how to do Java. And then we said, okay, so because I'm the one who doesn't know that much, I have to be on the keyboard. Because he is going to be on the keyboard, I'm just sitting there. Right. He is explaining, I'm nodding, and after 10 minutes I'm like, I don't know what we're talking about. So you have to make the agreements. Normally you would, with pair programming, you would switch with people on the keyboards, and you can discuss if you want that the person on the keyboard is just typing and the other one is explaining what you should do. You can find a way in it. But I think the most important thing is speaking out loud and discussing, and preventing that one person is just looking and getting lost in the project.
So why did you get involved in software then from your previous job?
Yeah. So I really loved the whole design and thinking about innovation and concept, but I really missed the analytical part. So on high school I really loved mathematics, and also I loved drawing and being creative. So I think that in the end software technology would be the perfect combination of those two. But I never thought about it for 1 second, because I still had the image of, no, it's it's boring and it's not for women and it's nothing for me. I want to do something else. And then I found out, okay, I missed the analytical part, and online there are a lot of websites where you can learn programming. So I started doing one of those to do a small exercise. And then I was like, oh, this is fun. And then in the evenings I was doing it for fun. And then I thought, okay, I like it. It feels like they're all small puzzles I can solve. And then for me, I was really lucky that there are so many people needed in IT. So that even when you don't have the IT background, so I did a traineeship where they say, okay, you don't have the background, but if you want to learn and if you have a feeling for it and understand it, then we find a job for you and you will learn on the job. So for me, it's great that those possibilities are there.
It's interesting because one of the reasons I got involved, not as a coder, but doing marketing and community building and things like that, is because the business, the software just changes so quickly. Yeah. Right? So it gives you a lot of opportunities for new people to come in, even for older people. As long as you work hard, you can always find a spot. Interesting. So what goes after? So what happens now? The show's over. You're going to go back home. Do you have other conferences planned?
So for me, it's been a crazy year, because before this year, I was working for a couple of years in IT now, and then someone was saying oh, don't you want to do a talk or presentation? I was like, no, I hate being in front of people. I don't want to do that.
So you were a speaker here.
Yeah. So then I wrote an article about those pair programming tools, and someone was asking, can you do it on an online meetup? And then after online, there were physical conferences, and it grew and grew. And yeah, so for me, it was a whole journey. In the beginning, I was really afraid of being on stage, and I was more surviving than I like it. And now this year, I think month, I had 4 conferences, flight all over the world. And now it's getting easier, and I have I'm less nervous to be on stage, and I especially like the part where people come to you and say like, okay, but I didn't know that too, and I'm really happy that I know something like that's possible, and I'm going to check it out. So for me, that's what I get from it. But yeah, for the plans, for me, this was the last conference, and I'm also actually quite happy it is, because it's been a crazy year, and for me, it's time to let it go and look at what new subjects there are, because all the time I'm focusing on the remote pair programming, and for me, it's time to dive into something new. Like what you said, there's so much to learn, and that's also why I think like, yeah, it's time for something new. I want to explore and dive into a new subject.
That's really cool. All right, cool. One last question. Yesterday, I saw you guys playing tennis, and I actually captured some video of it because I've never seen anything like it.
Oh, that's embarrassing.
So there's like 4 players, and you're like, you hit the ball, and then you run around the table.
Yeah,
What's up with that?
Yeah, so we call it, I don't know how to literally translate it, but something like round the table. And I don't know if it's purely Dutch, because I've also played it when I was younger, when we went camping in French. And the whole idea is, most of the time, if you're somewhere where like camping with a lot of people and there's only one table, you don't want to do one-on-one because you have to wait all the time. So everyone brings their own bat, and then like you just go run, and everyone, like when the next in line is going, they have to hit it, and if you miss it, you're out. So in the end, you will end with only a couple people. But yesterday we had only 4, so it doesn't matter if you made a mistake, you could just stay. Yeah.
Well, I've never seen that before. It looked fun. I don't know if I can run anymore though. So.
Yeah, it was like good exercising.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, cool. Kaya, it was great meeting you here, and I'll see you at the next JavaOne.
Hopefully, see you soon.
Bye-bye. See you guys. That was good. Really good.